This is Aisha White interviewing John Richards on May 3rd, 2018 at his martial arts studio in Handsworth. John migrated from Jamaica in 1962. John, can you tell us about your earliest memories?
Okay, that's a tricky one, but I think maybe when I was around 5, I'll go back to that 5, when I was running around in my garden, no shoes, more likely no trousers, throwing stones in a water, a little water puddle. A goat, little billy goat running around. That was me. I can remember all that. From that now, I think more likely around 7, when I had lived in a basic, I suppose you're going to call it house, but to me it's a shack, with my grandmother who brought me up. And that I didn't have a mother as I know it. It was my grandmother. My grandmother was everything to me. She was very strong, very religious, very upright person, very proud. And she took care of me and mend my wounds when I fall down and make me better when I'm poorly. She was it. From that now, I remember she was struggling because she never had any money. I did have an older brother, and she struggled to buy food and buy clothes as they did then. She used to do a little fruit selling in the market, and I remember she asked my elder brother, which I'll never forget, and I still don't forgive him, to help her carry the basket to the market. And he says, no, I've got better things to do. Because he was around 14 at the time, so he's off gallivanting. And I watched my grandmother with this basket struggle down to the market. And the next day I says, Granny, as I used to call her, I'm going to make you a truck to carry the fruit. So I remember putting together boxes and stuff and wheels and handle, and said, right, it's ready. And I wheel it around the garden. Then we got all the fruits in. I think I must have reached 100 yards and it collapsed. The wheel buckled and I had to take everything out and stuff. And with that, I always remember that because how sad I felt that I couldn't do more even at that age. And my big old brother is too busy doing nothing. Yeah. So from that now, where does that take me? It takes me up to maybe around 8 and a half. When where I live, it was a sort of a lane. It was in a lane that opens out into a yard. And we had many people living in that yard, all the families, but everybody was poor. So you take a lot of things for granted. Everything was like normal because nobody had more than the next person. But they got on quite well together. And my grandmother, she was like the head person in this little area. So I know that a lot of people come and see her when the women have women problems. It would be my grandmother. If somebody had something happening to themselves, it would be my grandmother they come and see. She would take him in and look after him or encourage him to be something else. That was when I was around 8 and a half. Then from that, I was turning, I suppose, 9, because I actually left Jamaica when I was 9. So in between that 8 and a half and 9, I remember moving a couple of times. And when we say moving, they literally pick up the house, put it in a truck, and move it down the road. That's I can remember walking behind this truck while they move it for around some like 200 yards up the lane. That was my house move. And I thought, why we're moving? Because there's nothing wrong with where we live. But I think the landlord or something wanted the land to sell to somebody else, and your house has got to go. Yeah. Then we're getting ready now for Jamaica. I think the plan was for my other brother, my older brother, to go to Jamaica. I wasn't in the mention of it. But what it was, when the letter came from England to Jamaica, they couldn't find him. And when we told him, he wasn't interested. He just legged it. So I came in his place. So it's only by default or accident why I ended up being here, which I didn't want to go because, at the moment I only know Granny. And because we only, that lane that we lived on, I never venture out on the main road or anything too much. I always played round the yard, in the yard. Yes, we go to the seaside every now and then and stuff, but with my brother or some friends, but I didn't really know really much about life outside that lane. I was quite a protected and sheltered child, I think, by my grandmother. I can remember being between that eight when my brother said to me the one day, I'm going to take you up the road and show you where all the white people live. And I'm like, because I said, white people? And he goes, yeah, they live just up so and so. And I says, okay. So we went out, followed him, and there's these beautiful houses, lovely gardens, trees, fruit trees hanging in the front garden. I remember the mango tree, these big beefy mangoes hanging from the tree. The next garden, they have some other fruit trees, and and I'm like standing there like, whoa, looking at all that. And then I remember a white chap coming out, and he goes, get away from my garden, And I'm like, oh, just looking, and we walked away slowly, straight away, still looking and admiring. Next thing you know, he sent out two dogs after me and my brother, and we ran and stuff. But the one dog got me and bit a chunk out my leg. I remember this, and I cried my eyes out, obviously, and got home. My brother carried me home, and there's a thing they used to call in Jamaica blue stone. It's like a stone where they grind it up into like a powder type, and then they put it into the wound, because I had an old bleeding and everything in my leg, and she put it in, and that stuff, it burns. I remember crying at the time, and I passed out from the pain of putting it on, because they didn't, like hospital, There was 1 mile away, but more likely wait forever there. So they done this stuff on me, and I was better after a period of time. But that's how I remember white people in Jamaica, that they're bad people, from that dog. And it was a Doberman, because I can remember this dog growled at me, and I'm like, with fright, with my little legs, and that. Yeah. So that's one of my adventure, but I had other ones along the way. All right, so now is the bit where I actually leave the time to go to Jamaica, and they got me some clothes and stuff, nice new clothes and shoes that I never had before to walk in, and I'm like, yeah. So I think we went in a taxi or something like this, and they got me to go on the boat. And I think from I left the house, I didn't really realize what was happening until I got on the boat. And then Granny's going to say, right, I'm going to leave you now. And I'm like, you can't leave me here. And she says, you have to go. And I remember holding on to the railings and everything. And I remember then gone from crying to screaming, to, to be left and this. And I looked around me, and all I could see is like metal and big stuff, and quite scary. And I cried and screamed and yelled, and I think somebody came and held me while they peeled me off my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was crying too. And then they took me down and put me into a room down there in the basement. I think they put me where the slaves are at, I think. That's what it felt like. Anyway, I was down there in this room, and when I got there was other boys in there too, maybe around another 6 boys. half of them sobbing as well. But I was, I was in proper crying. Yeah, and that was it. That's when my life changed from that. So we was on some big ship, and I was there for like 3 weeks. And I remember it because my shoes didn't quite fit under 1 foot because I had a really swollen toe. My feet had a big damage, big toe, which my sister dropped the ironing board in it, and it never recovered. And when you're in Jamaica, you're always playing around water, so it never had a chance. Or somebody steps in it, or so it never got better. But I sort of got my feet and got onto the one-footed and that sort of thing. Anyway, while I was on the ship, we went to the ship doctor, and believe it or not, within 2 weeks, my foot was better. It's like, wow, it wasn't bleeding, it wasn't sore. I could actually get my feet in my shoe now. So that was one of the best things about being on the ship. We didn't get to do anything. We didn't get to walk around the ship. We was kept in that room. It's like breakfast, we all marched out, got to the table, finish, march back in. And we're there just to do some more crying and stuff, looking at the window, and all you could see is the sea doing that, just this little Rano. And it was quite sad because you didn't get to speak to anybody else or to understand or explain what's going on. And it goes from day to night, from night to day, and you're just looking at it, and all you could see is the side of the water. And the smell, I can remember now, the smell of the ship is a combination of paint and soup. Paint and vegetable soup. That's the smell I can remember. Then it was paint, and I think it was fried bacon. I think that combination. Then it was paint and another smell. So everything was a strong smell of paint, which you sort of get used to as you went on. So in that time being on the ship, we were allowed to see, because I had my sister as well, which I forgot to mention. My elder sister, who was around 3 years older than me, and she's like, stop crying, don't be silly. I can't remember, you're just being, but she was all right. She understood what was going on, but I was the little granny's boy, so I didn't know much. And on the ship, they put her in a different room with the girls, and we wasn't allowed to really see each other. I think it was only at breakfast time or dinner time when we come out, and she was over there, and we wasn't allowed to get up and walk about and stuff like that. And yeah, that happened for pretty much 3 weeks on the ship. And also I can remember the ship rocking. The weather was bad. The breakfast went flying. I can remember doing that and feeling sick. For the first time, I feel as though I wanted to throw up. The smell of paint and soup. And then and I think I didn't eat for a few days. After that, I didn't eat. I thought, one, being angry, two, the smell put me off, three, I couldn't. And they brought this thing out for breakfast, and they put it on the plate, and then they throw this box and they throw this flaky stuff out in the plate. Then they say to put milk in it, and I'm like tasting it, and I'm like, now I found out afterwards it was cornflakes. But at the time, it was just this weird thing, because in Jamaica, we wasn't given breakfast and all that. You had to eat what was left over from last night. And if you had green banana last night, that's what you're going to have for breakfast. So there wasn't a breakfast thing going on with me until on the ship. And the smell of bacon and fried bacon, that was dreadful. Because we never ate bacon in Jamaica, and so this fried smell of bacon and paint. It was just one nasty concoction going on. So we arrived now in England, dock, and towards the end I was excited. We're going to be landing in a day or so, and come the evening, we landed, I think it was in, where is it that ships come in? I think they.
I'm not actually sure.
Oh yeah, I'll remember in a bit. The ship come in and it docks and everything, and we all got off. Yeah, I think we all the boats came in. I mean, this was a huge ship. To me, it was like the size of the Queen Mary. You know, it was black and with red stripe and white, and everything was huge. You had swimming pool in the front of it and swimming pool at the back. Oh, but you're not allowed to go there because you're a peasant. So, yeah, I think it's one again them keeping us safe, but because they. Yeah. Anyway, we landed, and we were then marched off the ship with our little suitcases, and we lined up outside with a name tag, like a cattle name tag hanging down. And we standing, my sister next to me, and it's like, you know, she ain't talking to me, and I'm not talking to her. We just sort of like blown away by everything. And then we see loads of people coming over. You know, there's loads of black people there, dressed the same in the suit and the hat and stuff, and I'll be looking and watching, and everybody coming past, and other kids are going, and we're there looking at each other, and eventually, when sort of 75% of the crowd went, we were still there. Then this man walked up to me and he looked at my tag and he goes, "Richards, come with me," and and we followed, you know, and that's all he said. Come with me. And we just went with him. And we went into his car, and this man put us in his car, put a suitcase in, and we sat down. And then he says, "Yes, I'm your father." Okay, yeah, I'm your father, right. He wasn't a talker at all. And when I got in the car, I was then locked in, but then I couldn't see out the window because it was foggy. Well, at the time I didn't know it was foggy. It was just dirty. It was so dirty I couldn't see anything, and it smelled like mackerel. The old England smelled like mackerel. It smelled fishy and dirty, and the air was dirty that you couldn't see. So it's like, why are we here? You know, thinking we've left my sunny Jamaica that smell like fruits and flowers. And all of a sudden I was in this place in a car, and I can't see anything, but it's so dirty. Anyway, we drove along the motorway. All I could see is lights passing now and then. Still can't see anything. And I think I had a little sleep, and you know, in the moment, and wake up, and then next thing you know, we're here. And then we go bungled out the car and everything, and brought into this house. We were now in Aston, Birmingham, and they took us to the house and said, "This is your house. This is where everybody lives, and you're going to meet your rest of your brother and your sister, and your mother." Okay, all right. So we got in, and also all these kids come piling out, "Hey!" all excited, just you know. And I'm like blown away because I wasn't a great talker and stuff, and obviously my English or my ways wasn't, you know. So anyway, all this kid piling me, and my younger brother who's there, who's excited to see me, wants to show me his room and everything what he's got, and my next sister want to tell me how clever she is and all that sort of stuff. So a lot happened in those few minutes. Anyway, we was all piled into one room, and then we was introduced to everybody. Now, I had a big family. And when I came here, I had 6 kids, six younger brothers. And I also had 6 older brothers. I was in the middle somewhere. The only reason why, if I'm going to backtrack you a little here, the only reason why I I came to England in the first place was because of an accident from my older brother didn't want it to come. Okay. But the only reason why they sent for my older brother, because one of my brother in England died. He died at 15. And because he died and mom was quite distraught at the time and stuff, she decided, okay, now we send for one of the other kids, which was my next brother. So we came to replace my brother who died here. And my brother went to a school over in Peribah, and he was a great swimmer at 15. He was even in the team. Although they talk about black people are not good swimmers, and a lot of them not, including me. But he was a good swimmer, and he was renowned for being a great kid, fantastic sportsman, athlete, this or whatever. And he went on a school trip and died on the school trip. He drowned swimming out there. So that was quite a shocking one for Mum, because it was one of Mum's favourite lad, because he was so upright and so honest. A lot of people on the road even know him because he'd go along and do jobs for him and stuff. And at the time in Whitton, there was a lot of older people who needed help, maybe shopping or carrying something. He was the guy who would go around and say, can I help you with something? Or can I help you cross the road? And, he's one of them. Anyway, I think my mother cried for a few months non-stop. So when we arrived there now, things changed a little, me and my sister. So we then got into this life. There's your brother, there's your new sister, and she says, you got to call me Mom. And I says, yes, miss. And she said, no, Mom or Mother. Yes. Yes. No, Mother. And she said, you have to learn to say Mother. Okay. Yes, Mom. No, not Mum. Yes. And it went on like that for a little while. So anyway, I was educated, and this is your brother, this is Christopher, and this is his twin sister Christine, and this is Claudiette, and then it went through, and this is your brother David, and then your next brother Bobby, and this is your father, your dad, your father, and you will call him Daddy. Because everyone calls him Daddy, you'll call him Daddy. And I also had two older brothers as well, Rene, Ricker, and these are your older brothers, and they're like, yeah, everything is fine. So it went on like that, lived in the house there until I had to start school. They got me a place at school, Prince Albert and Prince Albert Road in Aston. And I went to school for the first time. And it was the strangest thing ever. I did go to school in Jamaica. I remember going there for a short while. And my mother packed me up. No, my grandmother packed me up and sent me off to school. And I went to this school. And there's all these classrooms. And the classroom, they was all open, but they're in a circle. Then I stand there thinking, which class do I go to? So I remember everybody run off to different rooms, and I'm standing there, well, where do I go? So I said, well, I went to that class. Oh, those kids, they look too big. Can't be in that one. So I went to the next one. Can't be in that one. So I see a classroom with kids my size. So I said, I'll just go in there and sit down and sit there. And the teacher, called the register, and she says, who are you? And I says, my name is John. Well, you're not on my register. And just left me there. You'll have to find where you belong to. And anyway, I can't remember the in and outs of that, but I know that the end of the lesson, everybody went, and I came back again, and just says, you here again? And says, come on out. So I came out, and then I just walked around the school and listened to other kids being taught and stuff like that. And then at the end of the day, I went and play, more likely throw stones at a post or something like so. And when I finished that, I got I stayed there until when everybody went home. Went home, and grandmother says, "How was school?" And I says, "Yeah, lots of kids, lots of classroom, and that." And then I didn't know what to say really, because all I know, I just gone to this place with lots of kids. And the next day I went back, same again, dressed up in my little shorts and no shoes and little brown shirt, and went to the school again. Looked around the room. I think I'll go and sit inside that room and then listen. And I heard the kids going, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'm listening to them counting. Then I thought, that's good. It's like a song. A, B, C. And I remembered that. This song they sing, A, B, C. It's a, So that's all I heard at first, as a song, more than what it's supposed to be. Because at this time, nobody explained to me what it's all about. Because my grandmother couldn't read. So she never sit down to me and say, well, this is a book and this is a that. We just lived. We get up in the morning and you just live. Anyway, school went through and it was pretty naff. And then before long, this ironing board dropped on my toe, so I couldn't go to school anyway, because whenever it happens, something happens. So I didn't go to school for all that time in Jamaica. So going to school now in England when I was 9, going on 10, it was quite a tough one. So when I was 10, they started to tell me about ABC. Oh, that was what that song they used to sing. So that was sort of a throwing in this deep end, and I was put in the second row in the classroom, at the front row, second row. I had a lovely little white girl sitting next to me who was quite dainty and petite and dressed quite nice, smelled like urine. I can remember that because I really disliked her because of the smell of pee every morning. Although she looked nice, but she must have had a bed problem, which at the time, I didn't know. I just smelled like pee. And anyway, we went through class, and the teacher's gone through loads of stuff on the board, and I'm saying I couldn't understand anything she's saying, and then she asked a question. No, she said something, and I put my hand up to ask her, and I answered, and the rest of the class burst out laughing, and I'm like, are they laughing at what I said, or they're laughing at me, Then I realised they're laughing at me, and I thought, when you feel that small, so right, I won't do that again. So I never asked another question again. I just sat there, unless I was poked by the teacher. Then I may say something, but I didn't know anything about maths, writing, and English. And then I remember going at home, and my younger sister, Christine, she's a clever dickie. She looks like you, actually. Anyway, wear glasses. She was the twin sister of my other brother, and she was the bookworm, and she was reading a book and so forth. So when Dad came from work, she says, "Dad, look what I can read." And he says, "John, he can't read that. He can't, So he called me over and he opened the book in front of me, and he says, "Right, read." And I'm like, and he goes, "Come on, I, I," and went through, and he's gone like that, and then he goes, and he's like, whacked me on the leg, and then I'm stuck in it still, and he whacked me again. Then before long, the belt would come off. Then he'll give me one good slap at the belt and say, I should read the book. So from then, I grew up disliking books. Talk about reading. Me and books, don't show me a book, I'll throw it at you. So my sister like proud, see, I can read this and he can't read it, and so I was always getting in trouble that way. So I gone through the older school, not able to read properly, and not able to read. But I went started my senior school, and my senior school, they put me in the worst class ever. They put me with all the dummies. It was a great place to learn. And my class was full of half Irish, some black kids, a few Asian kids at the time. And I think it just when also the Pakistan kids were just coming into the school, so I had a few of those. But there was more Irish, black kids, few English. So I think they put all the dummies together. And my class was quite a bad class, mainly through the Irish kids, because they love to fight. And every playtime, somebody's going to get beat up. Every evening time, few people will get beat up from my class. There's like 4 boys in there that just enjoyed, their own challenge, and it's to beat up everybody. They didn't pick on me. It was okay. It was cool. But sometimes I have to rescue some of these kids, like leave them alone, But they would fight just for the hell of it, break kids' arm and see them, by this roughness that they had. But the school, the classroom, we didn't really learn much either. Because you remember the teacher disciplined one of the Irish kids, tell him to go to the headmaster, and he'd come out the room. And he went out the room, and because was on a corner piece, and that kid broke every other window in the school, in the room, punched it through, and break all the glass. So we had to go through a term with no glass in the window. They said they're not going to repair it. They got a big rugby player teacher, or ex-rugby player teacher, Mr. Bess Weatherick, a big guy he was. And he says, right, he's in control of this class. And he had a stick, a cane, it must have been like that. And every day he has to be caning. Every day some kid's getting a good beating. But then he reached for a stage where he stopped caning you, just throw things at you. Because the kids, it's like, I remember there's a lad from St. Kitts at the back. And he was doing about electronics. And he's there talking about electronics and so forth. And he goes, right, what's a kilowatt? And this kid at the back, me, sir, put his hand up. I remember we turning around looking like this. And he goes, 1 kilo rat, killer mice. So the old class up, just fall apart. 1 kilo rat, killer mice. The old class fall apart. Laughter. So the teacher become, everything just another big joke. And he got this kid's out, and he battered him. He didn't cane him or throw him. He went over and he threw him around the room like a rag doll, which I could understand. And I'll never forget things like that. So the school days was very much like so. So I left school by then at 15. At 15, I remember maybe a week before, a month before I left school, my mother said, what you going to do now you're going to leave school? And I'm like, huh? And what you going to do? What job you going to get? And I'm like, I'm going to join the army. Because I knew somebody who was in the army, and he looked the part, and he was, he came and told me how brilliant it was and how they look and the places I've been to. So I thought, wow, that's the only thing. And I joined the army. And Mum says, no, I don't need to join the army. But I said, look, that's the only thing. I don't know anything else. Because at school, they don't show you jobs that you can do. They didn't tell you, oh, you should learn this or do this and that. So anyway, when I left school, I went up to the Army and Navy store, which was in the middle of city centre. And I went there, and they gave me a form to fill in. And I fill it all out, hand it them back. And the bloke said to me after, he said, son, you may be too young, and I don't think you're ready for the army. You know, if you want to try a few years' time, come back, but no. So I walk away back and thinking, look, what I'm going to do now? So the next day I went down to the job centre, which was on Soho Road, and there's loads of black people in there and Asian people and misfits and stuff. Job centre. So I went in there and they said, right, what would you like to be? What sort of job you're looking for? And then I said, well, I'd like to be technical. I said, I like drawing. I said, I like drawing. So, oh, okay. And it's something to do with drawing. And she said, what about a technical drawing, something? I said, oh yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll be one of them. And then she goes through a drawing and I give you 5 cards for jobs to look, you can go and have a look at. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And I looked at it and it's something about labourer. And the other one about some scrap yard. And the next one is about metal turning. And I still didn't really understand. But I went to the first one. And it was basically in a factory collecting swarf and emptying it in a bin, and it's a labourer job. That was what they offered me. I said, well, this has nothing to do with drawing. He said, and when you don't know, you don't know. When you have nobody explain to you, you don't know. You're just learning as your life sort of opening out to you. So I went to around 4 of these, and none of them I liked. So then I went back and goes, all of them, the smell, the dirty, and the nut. So she got the next one. Here's one. Oh, trying toys. Oh, toys. I'll go to that one. So I went up to Trying Toys, which used to be up by the Boundary, West Bromwich, and they gave me a job. They say making bikes, but it was part of a production line where we're building bicycles. And because I was like the youngest at the time, they said, well, you can test ride the bikes when they make them and stuff. And, oh, this is a good one. So that's where I started. So for around 2 days, I could test drive that one out. I used to ride it around the yard until it falls to bits and bring it back and stuff. Then they gave me a job after work. And the first week, they paid me £5. You know, I left my house at 6 o'clock. I had to catch a number 8 bus, number 40 bus, then onto the number 76, I think, or 79, to take me up that way. And I used to come back in the evening totally exhausted, and they gave me £5 for my first wages. I walked home with my hands in my back pocket like that, so I don't lose it. £5. I've never had any money before, because my parents, they never had money. They didn't give me any money to say, buy something at school, because I used to have school dinners, and I used to love it, because I used to get loads, and they used to have seconds. Anyway, £5 is a lot of money. And then I took it home and said, Mom, £5. She says, right, what are you going to do with that now? And I said, well, I'm going to spend it. She said, no, you're not. This is going to go for me, £2, and you'll have £3. You've got to put away your lunch money and your bus fare and that, and it leaves you with £1. £1 to spend and whatever you want. Wow. What should I buy first with my £1? A box of shredded wheat. Because I've always wanted to have more than one shredded wheat. Because when you have a big family, a box of shredded wheat, you only can have one each for breakfast. So I wanted to have a plate of shredded wheat. So I bought a box of shredded wheat. And because even the milk, we used to have to get those long bottle neck milk, the pasteurized, and we water it down and make a big pot of milk-looking water to put with our shredded wheat. That was our Soam shredded wheat, and my first wages, and then from that. So anyway, I went through all that, and then realizing that this is a naff job. I'd like to do better with myself, so I took myself to night school. I got my, I went to Brooklyn Technical College, and I got my first City Girls Part 1 in mechanical engineering. So then with that, I then got a job as a tool maker. I got apprenticeship with a company called Aston Screws and Rivets first, and then from there, I then graduated, went up to an electrical company called George Ellison's, where they gave me another better job, which I stayed for quite a while, until when they gave out redundancy. So that was that part of my working life as it was. But in that time, I also had my karate going on in the background of all this. I started boxing when I was 12, because at that time, most of the guys, that's what they was into, boxing. It was big as a way for them to do something else or make a bit of money on the side. Great people like Bunny Johnson from Birmingham. I used to box in the same club with him, and there's all these big guys I used to look upon in the training gym, skipping away, sweating, smelling, and then fighting each other. And it was like, wow, you know, that's what I'm going to be when I'm older, a big boxer and stuff. But then I realized again that it's hard to be a boxer. You got to take some serious beatings, and there's a lot of money. A lot of people going to make lots of money out of you while you get taking these beats in. But then I started karate not too long afterwards, and then with the karate, I was really enjoying this because it was different. It was a challenge, and it was something that I could apply myself to in how my mental mind was. Because the boxer, I didn't really want to become that boxer in the end. But when I see the karate, that's what changed my mind. So the one day, I was around 17, I left work, George Ellison's, and went straight to boxing. It was at the Rum Runner and Broad Street before they demolished it. They used to have a boxing club there. And Nobby, the trainer, said to me, "Oh, John, get in the ring with so-and-so, give him a few rounds." And I remember this chap got in there, jumped round, give me 2 good licks. He's like, bam, and I'm like, took it back, and bam, and I went down on the floor. So I got up again and started, and he came towards me, and I picked up my feet to kick him. And I thought, oh, what am I doing? That's the karate now is coming out. You know, but when you're frightened, when you're scared, you know, when you've been had a good lick and you see birdies, you know, in the cartoon when they see the birdies, and that's what it was like. And I didn't want it another one, so I picked up my leg. And then I decided that, you know what, I think maybe this boxing I'm not cut out for. I think it's the karate that I want. So I started to do more karate. So I was there more or less most evening, kicking and punching. And I still carried on with the boxing, but I wasn't that serious. I just enjoyed the workout and stuff. But the karate is the thing that got me. And from that I carried on through until when I got serious with it, I remember the club, there was like 50 people joined at the same time because Bruce Lee was happening. Bruce Lee was everywhere. Bruce Lee was the thing. All the black kids there into. So when we started that stage, and by the time I've done like a year, there may have been around 5 kids left out of that 50. By the time I'd done 3 years, it was just me left from that bunch, and got my black belt. And from that, I left there and then opened my own club, which when I was around 20, 21, I started my own club, which was quite, you didn't make any money from it, you know, you just about managed to pay the rent, because the stage where nobody had any money, and there's a lot of people out of work and stuff, but it was a good time, and it was a good place for people because it gave them a little bit of something to be proud of, make them feel part of something. It's somewhere where people can go in the evenings and apply themselves to, because in those days you couldn't even go out to the nightclubs because they won't let you in because you're black, you know. So what they do, they go training. Because I remember the one time my younger brother Chris, he says, I'm going to my friend's 18th birthday party, which is up in Broad Street, and they invited 12 of his mates to go. And I said, oh, good on you. I said, have a great time, Chris, you know, and so forth. But he came back really angry that night, really, really angry. And I said, what happened? He says, they wouldn't let me in. And I said, yeah, but you went to an invitation, private party. And he goes, yeah, but they wouldn't let me in. And they used also the excuse, and he was quite angry about it and stuff. And I said, Chris, you've learned a lesson. That's all, you know. So you know how you fix in society now, and you mustn't take yourself or anything for granted. And yeah, Chris is in America now. He moved there, living there happily, married, 2 kids, living in Florida, having a good time. Yeah, but from that, my life went through a lot of the karate world, developing myself. But if I want to jump back a little bit, I started a band, a gospel band, because I used to be a good singer before I distort my voice. But me and several other people, we used to have a good band. We've been in. There's a program used to come on television. It's equivalent to these. I've been in Opportunity Knocks. I don't know if you've heard of that. Huey Green. You are young. New Faces. No, they're another talent show. And at the time it was the thing. We went in with our band trying to get somewhere with it, which we got nowhere. But for quite a few years, we sing around and travel around, singing different places. And we changed from a gospel band to doing cabarets. So, because that's what people wanted. They didn't want to hear about it. So we changed our line. And then I remember when they changed, it says, oh, you know, can you play this sort of song and can you play this sort of song? But we only had a little classic guitar and some bongo drums and, you know, stuff. Then it went from that, well, we need to get a proper drum kit. So somebody goes, I'll get the drum kit. And somebody says, I'll do bass. You get a bass. I says, I'll do keyboard. Because I like the keyboard. I love the sound of keyboards. So I got a keyboard. And we got it up, learned a couple of numbers, you know, and quite basic, but it was okay. And from that, we just teach ourselves as we went on. And yeah, we did that, ended up on television, playing, you know, dun 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 dun. Yeah, so it shows you where the mind's willing, you know, you can do things with it. And I still have my keyboard, but I've got a new one now, which I love the sound of. I still can't play it, but but it looks pretty. Yeah, you know, if my wife asked me to get rid of it, you know, no way. You know, that's when I was in the band. I always wanted a good keyboard. Couldn't afford one, but now I can. So I bought a nice one and just plunk it there. That's the, you know, pay me back for what I did earlier. Okay, so with the music side, we changed band and stuff, and I was still in the karate. I remember one day I went to rehearsal, and the bass player didn't turn up. And then the next time I went back, the drummer didn't turn up. And these are the nights, of my training nights. And don't forget, I love the karate. That is now become my life. And I'm wasting time going to these, mixing with these dead people who can't be bothered to turn up for training. The next time I said, I'm not going to go, I'm going to go to this competition. So I went to the competition, karate competition. Then I see the band walk in, come in, and they goes, right, you're here, you should be rehearsing, and they said, right, make a decision, karate or the band. In that case, it's going to be the karate. I think my life is here now. So they turn around and walk out, gone. And that was the end of my band days, finished just from that. And it turned out to be a good little band, but the guys didn't like to turn up for rehearsal, and that really messed me about. So from that, the karate just took me from strength to strength and from club to club. I opened, I think overall I had around 25 clubs. I had clubs in Germany, I had clubs in Switzerland, I had club in Scotland, Wales. Then I started traveling and teaching. So I've been traveling abroad, again, traveling around just teaching the karate and so forth, which was, I enjoyed, which was good times. And as you've gone through, you're learning about yourself, about people. I've gone to places like Finland to teach, and when we went to Finland first, everybody looked at me like that, an alien, you get to the... But it was cold. Finland is cold. Finland, for me, it's like, at the daytime it wasn't too bad, but come night, I could freeze up, I could turn to ice, being traveling from here to there. But the crowd was only a few people when I went first, because what it was, one of the instructors seen me here and then thought, well, I'd be great for his club. So he went back and tell his instructor, you should get this man from England, his name is John Richards, and he's very good. We should have him over here. And they asked me to invite me over, paid for everything, went in, good. And there's only like a small crowd of people, more the black belts type of thing. Then they invited me over a second year, and then the crowd like trebled. Then they invited me another time, and it was a massive crowd of people. I thought, wow. And it just shows you how things grow. And it only goes on your performance, because people only believe you when they see, more than just tell them. And I suppose after the first lot of experience, and it went on that. But then I stopped because it was just horrible to get to Finland, because you have to get this plane and that plane and then another plane up, and and it's just all traveling. And when you're there for a weekend, you got to become Superman, because people are expecting superpowers from you. If you're coming all the way from England to kick butt, you got to. But I was exhausted, and the food was rubbish. I said to them, I don't, because, my wife is doing a nice meal for us tonight, and we'd like you to come over to our house to eat. Oh, yeah, fab, great. And what is it you like to eat? And I says, well, anything so long as it hasn't got pork in it. Okay, yeah, we can do that. And, went over training after I've been teaching now for like 6 hours. I was expecting a good meal, which I did. And they sat down, chat, all the friends come over, and the meal came out, and it was pizza with salami on top of it. And I'm saying, well, that's a pizza and that's pork. Oh yeah, it's not pork, it's salami. I said, well, salami is like pork. So, which I didn't eat. And I said, you got any bread or anything like that? So I had some bread with vodka. That was my dinner. But they do a great sauna. And that, so that's that. Now from there, I went into, traveling around teaching still. Then I decided to settle down because I've got married and I've got now kids and so forth. And my wife, which I met in my club, and we got 4 kids, which they all now do karate. And they're all black belts, except for one of them who's turned into a ballerina for some reason. But the rest of them is with the business now, doing karate. I hope as their life choice, because it's something that I wanted them to do, but I wanted them to choose it for themselves, and for it to mean something to them like how it means to me. So they got to have a passion for it more than a paid job. They got to want to put the gi on every day, to wake up every day feeling sore and tired, and then all at the same time building, developing, learning, and enjoying life. And which I think at the moment they just get in there, or they're just trying to understand what I've been telling them. So it's all good on their side. I think coming here in this premises, you see, when I think we used to be in, I've been renting rooms out for all these years. I still rent certain places, but we were in a school across the way called St. George's College. We rented off a section of it. We were there for 20 years as a club. I think I had more students in my karate than they did at that school. They come to me one day and he says, from next month you have to close. You have to finish at 6:15. And I says, 6:15? I said, well, my class started at 6:30. And they said, I said then, well, no, sorry. When I said my class started at 6:30, no, that's I'm lying. My class started at 6 o'clock, but they say you're going to close at 6:15. Then I says, that means my class is only on for 15 minutes. And the bloke says, that's your problem. Right. So what you're saying is you want me to close my class down at 6:15, considering I've just opened up at 6 o'clock. He says, yeah. So it's a nice way to tell me I've got to get out. So, they're needing me out by a month notice. So I start looking around for premises and everything. And this building came up, which was the post office. So I said, okay, I'd love to have it because it's beautiful, it's got no pillars, it's going to be fine. But then there's a lot of people was after the same building. And as you know, a lot of the places are owned by Asian along this road. So there's a good set of people who wanted this building. So I had to really fight to get it. You know, keep putting the money up and change, but because I needed it. And my bank manager said, do you really want this premises? This time in your life, do you want to take out a mortgage? And I says, yeah, this is something I always wanted. So we fight it out some more with the bank manager, and I got a mortgage. I was able to buy here. And it was a tumble down. It was loads of things going on. And we've done a lot of work. And, you know, a lot of help from the parents. And the funny thing is, a lot of the parents, it's people I never thought would come in and give a hand, you know, help paint, clean, wash, dig, scrub. And they help me quite a lot. So I'm grateful for the parents. And it's mainly the mothers, not the fathers, the mothers that put the overall on and stuff, and they came out and got down with me and get the job done. So I'm grateful for all those mothers who helped me in that first instant. And there's still work to be done in it now, but I'm saying to myself that one day, I says, this is this boy from Jamaica who come to England, the age of 10 started school, and then I am allowed to have all this 7,000 square foot of karate space. And I'm impressed with myself. I'm impressed with myself because I know that it's only pure willpower and ambition and pride in yourself that pushes you. Apart from having lots of students before all over the place, but now I have a collection of students which I'm proud of, and I'm happy with that. So karate is the way, and now I'm helping families, I'm helping kids, I'm helping people relations with each other, because it's more than the kicking and punching. I'm giving them a lifestyle, I'm giving them another way. I'm making healthy people, and I'm creating a sort of a community out of people. And I think we're for myself, because I think I've been through some hard stuff, and I've learned from just myself applying myself. So I've experienced life in a lot of ways. But if I want to go back a little bit more, sorry, I also, when I left my work, I got redundancy, hooray. I thought, what am I going to do now? Because the karate, I can't live on that. There's no money. And I thought I have to go back up to that dreadful place to get a job again. And I walked up there reluctantly and said, right, I've redundant from a job and now I'm looking for something and they took some details and said, right, we'll be in touch. And I went home and there was a letter on my doorstep to say, John, we're looking for a bodyguard. Come down for an interview and we'll see you, if you're up for it. So I hesitate and stuff and that. But anyway, I went along just for the hell of it and done this interview. And then they picked me to say, yeah, we want you to look after us on our British tour, so it was. So I said, wow, isn't God good? Isn't God good? So I took this job on, and within a week I was off doing an English tour. And my first job started with a band called The Beat. And The Beat at the time, they were happening. They were a funky live reggae come mix up type, soul type come ska music. And all these clubs used to have like some very rowdy type people in it. So my next life started now. We live in the rock and roll life. And once you start living the rock and roll life, you become a pop star yourself, believe it or not, because your ways are changed and you start to do things that you shouldn't do, and you're doing things to fit in, and you're learning about, the rock and roll life, they thinking different. They're in a different paradigm from your normal people. So I took on that role for a while. Then we ended up a big show in America, and my life start again. So I've traveled all the states in America. That's why I ended up in Baton Rouge. All the southern side, I went from up Canada, Quebec. I like Quebec. It's posh there. I traveled everywhere, and I've learned as I've gone on, and I had to deal with lots of stuff. I had to deal with some crucial stuff. I think more so down south, but a lot of it's even. We didn't get very violent, but my job was keeping the band safe and make sure that they had the needs and stuff. And you go from one band, and I ended up working for other few people. General Public, they went big again in America, so they started another US tour. We ended up in some island, where the band went and play. And the manager from the police was there, the police band, as in Sting, and he saw me working there and what I had to do to get the show to happen. He saw me on stage throwing off people, and So then after, he come up to me after, and he goes, "Greg, that was a fantastic show." He says, "I enjoyed watching you." He says, "Matt, we want you." So from that, he asked me to come and work for the police. So I ended up working with Sting, looking after him. But Sting was a guy, he's quite, he did need nurturing quite a lot. But I also did shiatsu myself, massage and stuff. So that was part of my credentials at the time. So I did quite a bit of nurturing with him. And from him I went on to doing Spandau Ballet, who was quite big again, big band, done like all of Italy with those guys. all those venues, really good show. And from him, then while I was in Italy, just finishing off, I had a phone call from Mick Jagger, manager, to work with him. And they said, John, hey, we heard about you, Mick want to get back on the road now, and, we're looking like for a guy like you, because I was a physical instructor as well as all the other things that I did to look after the band. So they said to me, yeah, you should come and work for us, we look after you. By this, I was tired. I just finished, I think it was on the last show of Spandau Ballet, and then he said, well, if you come, and I said, how long is it for? He said, maybe a year. A year on the road touring. And, there's me looking excited going on, because I still have my club in England. I have my karate clubs in, and I needed to get back. So I said, well, what about 6 months? Because I went through, well, you'd be paid well and this and that. And they said, no, you can't do 6 months. It has to be a year. So in the end I said, well, I'm sorry, but I can't take anything. The way I feel now, I just can't put my hand up for this. So I left it and came back to Birmingham. And when I came back to Birmingham, I went up to Lozells Road, and then I see cars turned over, places and been burnt down, and police barricades all over. And I went up to one of the police, because I was going up to get a takeaway. I was going up to the Chinese takeaway, my favourite takeaway in the whole wide world, which is up there. And I walked up there, and I wanted to walk because just to see good old Birmingham. And then I said to the police, because you couldn't go down that road, I said, well, what's happened here? And he goes, what do you mean what's happened? No, what's happened? Burnt out cars. And he says, where you been? Oh, it's a long story. Where do I start? Where do I start? And I said, yeah. Anyway, we couldn't go up there. But they had the riots, took part while I was away and stuff. And give and take another few months, I was back on the road again with some other band for a bit. But then there's another little band called Bros. And Bros was like two brothers. They were tall, they're twins. They were tall, blonde, I suppose good looking to girls, dressed in a weird way. But they were two nice guys underneath all that. They just started the business very young, and they was excited, eager, this, that. So I ended up looking after them for a while on the road, until, it got a bit ridiculous. So in the end I said, that's it, no more of this. So I left the tour in Germany, came back to England to do a special summer course what I had set up before. And it was a big summer course, because like a lot of instructors from all over the world come to train, and I was one of the instructor. So, because I said to them before this particular date, I wanted to go back, but they didn't take it serious. They're like, yeah. But come that, I said, I'm going back in the morning. So that was my way out, and I went back, done my summer course. It nearly killed me, because I was out of shape. I was out of shape. I'd been on the road too long, and done the week training and came back, and that's from then I got married. Because once I decided, like, I'm not on the road anymore, I got married and had my first baby that I loved, because I thought, this little boy from Jamaica who didn't know anybody and didn't have a mother and father, and now I'm here, I'm married, I got a wife and a son. How lucky am I? So my mind was in the right place at the time, because when you're traveling around and you're seeing things, doing things, you don't know where you're going to be at. So that was that. And then Lionel Richie came to Birmingham, and hey, we want you, John Richards. We heard about you hiding here somewhere. I want you to look after it while he's here. So he stayed. He was there for around like 3 weeks and stuff. So we looked after him while he was here. And in that time, we had Electric Light Orchestra, ELO. They also work with them for a while too, because they're a more local band. They come from just up the road, yeah, and stuff. So then when I stop it now, so that's it. You know, I spend too much time here, and I need to concentrate on this side. So that's what I'm doing now, kicking and punching, and I ain't gonna say I'm having a great life. It's always what I want, and I'm in the right place at this moment. Yeah.
Could you tell me about your childhood friends in Jamaica?
I didn't have many that I can remember. I suppose we played with kids, usually within our lane and things, and I suppose everybody, I suppose, is your friend. But there was one particular lad I suppose I was close to, and he came to me the one day and he says, "Guess what? I've got to go to England." And I says, "England?" He says, "Yeah, my parents are in England. I've got to go to England." And I'm like really sad. That means we're not going to see you anymore. He says, "No." So I said, "Oh, wow." So I left him that evening, because we usually play every day. We play together. You know, our house is there and his house is there. And we sort of grew up a lot. So we were quite close. And yeah, the evening he went home and said, you know, "Well, last time I'll see you, so yeah, have a good life," basically. And then come in the middle of the night, we woke up by scream and shout, and there's his house on fire, and he got burnt up in that fire, and he never did make it to England. That was my best friend. And you know, and I think we come the morning, went round, walking around, I remember, with my head's down, looking at this place burnt out, thinking, why this, you know? And as a friend, that's the only one person I can remember. And why did his house get burned down in the middle of the night? And he was planned to come to England, or go to England, you know. So that was my little thing about that, and that sort of sticks out in your mind. Now and then you can remember things like smell, and I still remember a smell from when I was little, and the smell was burnt flesh. And I also can remember flowers. So when I smell flowers, it reminds me of cemetery. And when I seen cemetery for the first time, it freaked me out because it smelled like flowers. And so if I was to pass now and smell anything, I smell cemetery. Because when you're young, that smell. And it's after he died, they buried him, and I had to go to the cemetery. And I remember flowers and cemetery. Anyway.